Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Swim Pricing Show. My name is Filip Vucic. I'm a pricing mentor.
And I am Filip Zolota, the owner of growth marketing agency Maujo.
Today, we want to talk about, well, you can call it a hot take if you like. Outcome-based pricing is the most ethical kind of pricing. Just for a quick orienteering session, you can base your price on the inputs. So, your cost, including your time, outputs, which is some kind of item like a page or how many people are listening to the coaching or anything like that can be enumerated. Or outcome, also known as value. Value pricing is a little broader than that, but outcome, which is desirable outcome, obviously, that the client wants. So do you have anything to add about the value pricing definition?
Yeah, generally the definition of value-based pricing as a format is focused on the perceived value. You can see in various industries, in automotive, in watchmaking, etc. Value-based pricing is a part of establishment, the pricing structure, and the methodology. But today's topic is, as you said, the outcome-based and value-based pricing or result-based. This is the longer name for the for the same thing.
Okay, so let's talk about outcome-based pricing, right? So even if it takes you 2 minutes, but it solves all of the client's problems, it doesn't matter, right? And even if they don't receive anything more than just a nod from you at the right time, so that's a very small output, but it can have a huge outcome, right? So why do I say that it is the most ethical? This is how I look at this, right? With input-based pricing, there's an inherent conflict of interest because you, as the expert, decide how many hours, let's say, or inputs of any kind, how many inputs there need to be in order for the task to be done. So that's your decision, and the client pays for it, right? So you can set it up front, or you can set it later, but you say, no, this is not enough, right? You'll have to pay me more. So you have an inherent conflict of interest that you may not realize or that you may not act upon, right? But that's just like saying, radioactive stuff can be managed. It can. It doesn't mean that it's good. It just can be managed. So it's inherently unhealthy, right? So this is inherently unethical, and you can make it ethical with some rules and regulations and oversight and everything, right? But the more inputs that you put in, the higher the price for the client. So it's better for you, and it's therefore worse for the client. So that's conflict of interest. And this is how you get micromanaging clients, because they get burned for they buy a whole lot of nothing, right? With an agency, let's say, that charges them for every move they make, and they basically give him or her nothing that they can use. And then the next time, or many next times that they work with somebody, they act on it, and they are micromanaging, hurricanes, because they'll be damned if that happens again.
Yeah.
Right. So do you have any other examples of what's the consequence of input-based pricing?
Yeah, definitely. The example and the comment / add-on. The consequence is very clear there. The expert who is providing any kind of service to respectable client and customer, they're that way with that approach, they're positioning themselves as easily switchable resource and merely as a service provider. While if you define and set up the structure through the outcome-based pricing and the approach, you are positioning yourself as a true partner and you're being paid for the results you deliver. Addition to that is the communication window, in which going down the route of outcome-based service providing and service pricing is that you are also mitigating the risk for the respectable client and customers, in some occasions even eliminating. And it is much easier to make relevant conversion, especially if you have a great alignment with potential prospects sitting in front of you. So that is the realm in which I definitely suggest people to focus on and check how they could implement and slightly switch the paradigm down the route of outcome-based approach.
Right. We're one, I think, wrong way away from it, which is the output-based pricing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because again, there you have, somebody who actually needs a one-pager getting a full-fledged website, because then the provider of that website can charge more.
Yeah.
Right? It's a conflict of interest. The more output they do, the more they can charge, and the better for them and the worse. And again, it doesn't have to be problematic, but it inherently is, right? And this is how you get in the consulting world, not to just talk about agency, in the this is how you get 60-page reports that tell you nothing. Yeah. Or tell you something that you could have read on half a page, written out large in tables and charts and this and that and the other. And that's how consultants get a bad name anyway, right? Mm-hmm. They take a lot of time and the space to tell you, well, on one hand this and the other hand that. Gee, thanks. I knew that before, right? So, and there's a conflict of interest there. And apart from this, like you concluded, the outcome-based method doesn't suffer from this problem, because the more outcome you produce, the more you can charge. Yeah. The better it is for the client, because they get the most outcome, because they shouldn't care about inputs or outputs. They should only care about the outcome, right? When people, you probably got this in your work, you talk a lot about value-based pricing. So do you hear people, what would be an example of people saying, I can't possibly charge for something that's easy for me to do. I can't charge a lot of money because it's unethical. Have you heard that?
Way too often, and that is something which both you and I, we are trying to explain to our colleagues, and in the end, clients who are supported by our end in terms of business, to switch the paradigm, because the time consumption is completely irrelevant, because you are selling the end goal and the result, not your time, how many hours you put into something. As you mentioned today, a few minutes ago, practically, it's completely irrelevant. The results are those who are tangible and quantifiable. So that is the only understandable thing to do. And also, a mere example is that in the value-based pricing or outcome-based approach, even those who have a slight problem with charging more, it is easier for them to charge the success fee based on the results they deliver. So that is also on the go resolving that respectable case and scenario, because now the results generated are clear for both ends. And cool thing about it all is that people who are providing professional service, expertise service, they're motivated. If you generated an amazing amount of value for the company, it's tangible, it's quantifiable, client is happy, you're happy. You want to continue down that route for a long-term business cooperation, friendship, and partnership. So that is the ideal case and scenario.
Okay, so absolutely. What needs to be said here is it's clear that this kind of pricing cannot always be used, right?
Absolutely.
Sometimes it's not worth it. It's not worth it to understand how much a person would benefit from an online course. This is going to differ. Some people are going to get a lot from it, some people not that much, but you just put on a price based on something, or just your idea of how much do you want to earn, and it sells or it doesn't, right? It's not worth it. So what's the threshold, would you say? How do you know if something is worth the effort of basically outcome pricing?
In my case, and which I'm advocate by default, is primarily the alignment with respectable client and customer. To see are you on the same page, that is very relevant. Other thing is also, it's a practical prerequisite. It's transparency in communication. There are always respectable clients and customers who are not so transparent. They don't want to share some things with you. The point is, if you are going down the route of outcome-based, you need to have quantifiable elements. Everything what can be quantified can be put into the scope of success and outcome-based pricing and being paid for results you delivered. And also zero tolerance for micromanagement for sure, because the point is you're responsible and being accountable for all the effort and action you're delivering to the respectable client and customer. So those are relevant prerequisites to mention and put into the picture properly.
Okay, so if you figure out that something is not worth the effort, what do you default to?
The things which are not according to the kind of rule and prerequisite and according to the necessary alignment from our end, from my end, definitely I would go down the route of regular pricing approach, meaning the pricing scope, pricing depending on the project, but not implementing outcome-based, because where you don't have a proper and necessary control of all the stages in the process, it's impossible to implement, even if you have a quantifiable triggers and elements into the picture, because you don't have the impact on it. Somebody else is doing it. The clear example is for this. The example of agency which provide lead generation service. Lead generation is the lead in a pipeline, but the closing and sales process is being done by the company in-house team. There is a problem. There is a gap. How you can promise or guarantee the best possible success rate? Your goal is number of leads, the value of the lead and similar, but you cannot impact on the closing rate and what will be happening afterwards. In case you have full control of the scope, that is something else.
You cannot be responsible for something that you can't control.
Exactly.
Because if you are, you're setting yourself for
Yeah. You are doomed by default. You chose to fail.
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so let's just bring it back to the Swan Duck case, right? When we talk about Swan pricing, we talk about expertise-based pricing, right? So I think in the duck world, in the commoditized service space, there's no real need for outcome-based pricing, because the outcome is understood. If somebody is digging a hole for 2 hours or digging a hole for 6 hours, well, I expect the hole to be about 3 times as big in 6 hours. So there's no need for, why do you need the hole? And no, I just, how many hours do you need me to dig, right? That's fine. But in the and this is because clients can usually tell in advance what will easily quantifiable amounts of work actually get them, right? You're going to get a better service if you're staying at a hotel for 6 hours or 6 days, you're going to get a better service for the 6 days. You're going to get more out of it. That's not the case with SWAN pricing, with expertise-based services. You're not going to get a better speech in 6 hours than you would get in 6 minutes. No, really, it's probably going to get worse, right? Yeah. There are some brilliant 6-minute speeches. There are no brilliant 6-hour speeches in the history of the world. So more is more that doesn't work here, right? More is less. Yeah. And because of this, the logic changes, and you can there's no longer a clear correlation between the amount of work and the amount of outcome. And when that breaks, when there's no clear correlation between the amount of work and the amount of outcome, then it doesn't make sense to price on the amount of work. So this is the difference between the SWAN pricing and the duck pricing, basically. Yep. And this is the cause behind it all, right? Right. I think we wrapped it all pretty neatly. Yeah. I wanted to just state out loud. So we're not saying that you should only do outcome-based pricing. It's not practical. It's not possible. But there's definitely nothing wrong with it. Ethically, it's the most sound one. The one that requires the least fixing, the least oversight, and this and that and the other. And maybe simply as a little bow on it, be careful to understand what you said. It's the client who tells you what outcome he wants, right? It's they need something, and they will recognize more positive outcomes. It's very hard for us from our side to say, yeah, this is objectively good. This is objectively nothing is objectively valuable. It's all perceived value in this world. We're not talking about aluminum. We're not talking about gold. We're not talking about oil. We're talking about expertise-based services. And in this world, it's all about the perceived value. And therefore, it's all about the perceived outcome. So be careful not to give them a lot of outcome which only you can recognize. Only the part of the outcome that the client recognizes counts as something that you can charge on, right? Agree with that?
Absolutely.
Cool. Right. Philip, where can people find you?
People can find me by default on LinkedIn, also on our agency page, Moyo.agency, and my consulting practice, Moyo.consulting. Cool.
People can find me on LinkedIn as well, and also on fearlesspricing.com with a dash in the middle, fearless-pricing.com. Thank you, everybody, and see you next time.
See you. Bye-bye.